to the World Music Awards and all my fans around the world. Ladies and gentlemen, I am greatly humbled by this award. And I'd like to say, when Quincy Jones and Bruce Swedien and Rod Temperton and myself created the Thriller album, it was my dream that Thriller would become the biggest selling album ever.
His doctor, who went to jail for giving him the anesthesia, also testified that Michael Jackson was chemically castrated by his parents when he was young to preserve his voice. That's what I suspected. I talked about it on the podcast like years ago. I was saying this. I think he was a castrata, which is they take young boys, and they used to do this with opera, and they would castrate them at a very young age. And because of that, their body never developed testosterone, so they would develop this high, piercing, like haunting voice.
For decades, fans knew Michael for his soft, gentle speaking voice. It became such a familiar part of his public image that hearing anything different could feel almost impossible. But every once in a while, cameras captured moments where Michael's voice seemed to completely change. Suddenly, the soft tone disappeared, replaced by a much deeper and stronger voice that caught people completely off guard. One of the clearest moments came during Michael Jackson's legendary 1993 Super Bowl halftime show. Just before Heal the World, Michael addressed the massive crowd, and his speaking voice sounded noticeably deeper and fuller than the soft voice many fans associated with him. For anyone who had only heard Michael in interviews, the difference was hard to miss.
We stand together all around the world, joined in a common purpose to remake the planet into a haven of joy and understanding and goodness. No one should have to suffer, especially our children. This time, we must succeed. This is for the children of the world.
And this wasn't the only time Michael's deeper voice surfaced. During his 2006 visit to the Guinness World Records headquarters in London, Michael spoke to staff while collecting certificates recognizing his record-breaking career. Once again, his voice sounded noticeably deeper and more natural than the soft, higher tone many people associated with his interviews. And hearing that voice in such a casual setting only made fans more curious about how Michael naturally spoke.
What side this is for you?
Thank you so much.
This will be festive for you. This is everyone sing hello.
Thank you. This means the world to me, really does. Thank you so much.
And also,
I'm a big fan, really.
And Michael's deeper voice wasn't limited to interviews or public appearances. In the 2001 short film For You Rock My World, Michael shares several spoken scenes with Chris Tucker, and at certain moments his voice sounds noticeably deeper and more commanding than the soft tone fans were accustomed to hearing. With Michael speaking naturally between the acting and dialogue, it became another fascinating example of just how different his voice could sound.
Oh my God, Chris, that's it. That's the picture I've seen all day.
Chimmel. Hey! Chimmel! Hey! Come here.
Another revealing moment came in 2006 when Michael Jackson attended James Brown's funeral. This wasn't a performance or a carefully produced interview. Michael was there to honor one of his greatest musical heroes, and when he stepped forward to speak, fans noticed something unusual about his voice. Instead of the extremely soft, high-pitched speaking tone many people associated with him, Michael sounded noticeably fuller and deeper. The moment is especially interesting because of the setting. Michael was speaking emotionally about James Brown's influence on his life and career, making the moment another example fans point to when discussing the different tones Michael could naturally use.
What did he mean to you?
Everything. He was my greatest inspiration. I miss him very much.
Did you get all your dance moves from him or some?
A great deal of them. I love them very much. I shall miss him.
See you guys. Oh, thank you. Love you, man.
And then there are videos that fans often point to as Michael Jackson's real speaking voice. Away from the soft, breathy tone people usually heard in interviews, Michael could sometimes speak in a noticeably deeper, fuller register. In these moments, the difference is striking enough that some listeners initially question whether it's even him.
I love you. And God has answered my prayers. 25 years later, Thriller has become the biggest selling album of all time with 104 million sold. I thank God and you for the success. And there have been so many who have loved me and stood by me throughout the 42 years that I have been in entertainment business.
But there's another controversial theory surrounding Michael Jackson's voice. His former doctor, Conrad Murray, claimed that Michael told him he had been given hormone injections as a child to delay puberty and prevent his voice from changing. Murray later described this as chemical castration and alleged that Michael's father, Joe Jackson, was responsible. However, this remains an allegation, not an established fact. No publicly documented medical evidence has confirmed that Michael was chemically castrated. Still, the claim added another layer of mystery to the huge difference fans noticed between Michael's famous soft-spoken voice and the surprisingly deep voice heard in certain recordings.
You claim that Michael told you that he was given hormone injections by his father when he was 13. Why was he given those injections?
You know, that's a very earth-shattering problem that Michael has suffered with for a long time. And it's quite an astonishing set of remarks and the story that built up around that. When a child who is a singer, before they turn into puberty, have that childish, high-pitched voice, at puberty, when the hormones change, the testosterone and the voice box break, you become that of a deeper voice and you've lost that childhood pitch. And it's important that you maintain that if you want to continue with longevity. Otherwise, many careers are ended at that time.
So the insinuation there is that Michael's father and possibly other people were conspiring to essentially chemically castrate Michael so that his voice wouldn't break.
It's interesting that you use the word chemical castration, and you must have had some way of eavesdropping on the book. Because, you know, those were Michael's words, that he had been chemically castrated. That was a very hard pill to swallow, a very difficult thing to live with.
The mystery surrounding Michael's voice has even been discussed by Joe Rogan. On his podcast, Rogan brought up Conrad Murray's controversial claim that Michael had allegedly been chemically castrated when he was young in an attempt to preserve his high-pitched singing voice.
It's very strange. Like, we played some of there's only a few recordings of actual castrados that are available, or castrados, one of those. But when you play them, they're haunting. Because you realize, like, this is a kid that was castrated as a baby so that he could be a singer. Like, this is f***ed up. And that's what Michael Jackson's doctor said they did to Michael. They did it through chemicals. They chemically castrated him the same way they do the pedophiles.
So his argument is, I'm just trying to regulate a situation that was already far gone. Is that his defense?
No, I mean, there's no defense. The doctor's just, you know, he killed him. I mean, killed Michael Jackson, let him get anesthesia until he died. His defense wasn't that. He was just saying, there's something else.
Right.
Like, Michael Jackson was f***ed up. Like, his parents literally chemically castrated him to preserve his voice, because he was the lead singer of the Jackson 5 when he was a baby. And that was part of what was great about him, was like, oh, baby, give me one more chance. Like, that
you got
voice.
A nice falsetto there.
Thank you. That voice was nothing like anything that he would be capable of doing as an adult if he grew into a man.
Right.
He would have this big old man, I want to get some pussy voice. And people were like, no,
I'm sorry?
Where's little Michael? He would have like a, you know, like a Barry White voice or something. Like, you can't have that. Like, you're Michael. You know, you're ABC. It's the easiest one.
Rogan said he had previously wondered whether Michael's unusual vocal range could be compared to historical castrato singers. He also mentioned how Michael's brothers were different in terms of their voice and physique.
Well, he may not have gotten that deep with his voice, but I guess if that's to be believed, that he'd never had the chance.
I believe it. You know why I believe it? Because his voice didn't sound anything like a regular man's. And it didn't sound anything like his brothers. His brothers all look like regular grown-ass men. Michael Jackson's deep voice.
Life, you must understand. That you can woman to man.
That's not deep.
Something's got cold.
Open the door and you will see.
That sounds like
still
Joan
like
Rivers.
mid-rangey.
I was looking it up. All those places I'm seeing that story about him being castrated are like tabloidy. It's the Sun and that kind of stuff.
Right, but it wasn't it an interview in like it was a UK paper.
Yeah, no, I just Googled. It was the Sun, which is like not the best.
That's not the worst, right? The Daily Mail's the worst.
Both of them actually.
Are they the same? They equal?
Yeah, I would think so.
During the conversation, Rogan referenced former Dr. Conrad Murray's allegation that Michael had been given substances as a child that supposedly affected puberty and preserved his higher vocal range. Rogan doesn't believe that Michael Jackson's voice was deep at all.
See, I'm hoping that's so true.
The last time you talked about this, I got some messages. I don't know, again, I was getting videos like this of showing like examples of his deep talking voice. In
See, that's not deep. There's a lot of chicks that have way deeper voices.
Yeah, true that, yeah.
Listen, that's his deep voice? Come on. Let me tell you, motherfucker. You listen to the wrong people.
Yeah, well.
I mean, think of how many women have ruthlessly deep voices.
Yeah,
right?
I could tell you a couple right now, yeah.
I think they did it to him. His voice was just phenomenal. Like Human Nature, like as an adult, that is such a phenomenal song. It doesn't sound like anything that a regular man is capable of singing. Like the notes that he hits, like that voice that he had was just haunting.
Rogan compared the idea to historical castrato singers and argued that Michael's adult singing voice sounded remarkably different from what people might expect from an average adult male. He also listened to clips presented as examples of Michael's deeper speaking voice, although he questioned whether they were actually that deep.
I'm trying to think of who else is a natural star who has a high voice.
Well, Prince used to sing in falsetto, but it was very obvious when he was doing it that he was doing it.
Yes.
Whereas Michael Jackson, like that Human Nature song is one of my favorites because it's such a slow, smooth holding of those sounds. These are natural sounds that are coming from him. You know, it's like this natural, like a warm, affectionate tone to it. It just doesn't seem like a man's voice. It doesn't seem like a woman's voice either. That's my point.
You got the right way of talking.
That's different. That's like falsetto.
Dancing.
Right.
You're saying that's like a force, like a caricature.
Yeah.
But even during the discussion, the reliability of the story was questioned, with the hosts pointing out that much of the reporting came through tabloid sources. They also discussed puberphonia, a type of voice disorder in some people. Ultimately, Rogan said he personally believed the theory, but that doesn't make it an established fact. The claim that Michael was chemically castrated remains unverified, with no conclusive public medical evidence proving it.
You could say that.
Dancing that away.
What is this?
Feel like dancing. Woo!
Puberphonia, known as mutational falsetto.
Hang on, I have a call on my puberphonia. Hello.
It's a type of voice disorder characterized by habitual use of high-pitched voice after puberty. Oh, so that some people get that?
Yeah, it's like a psychogenic in nature. So.
And the other thing is, you look at his body. He had no muscle. Like his body was like, I mean, he was a very active guy, dancing all the time, but he wasn't built like a dancer. He was built like a stick. You know, he was a very, very thin guy. That's what you would expect from someone who didn't have any testosterone. He wouldn't be able to develop any muscle. I'm sticking with my theory. I might have biases, but
they're mine.
They're mine. I'm sticking with it.
However, in another podcast, Joe Rogan speculated that Michael Jackson's children are not his biological offspring. He asserted the children are only legally, not biologically related to the singer.
It sounds preposterous until you look at his frame. I mean, he did not have the frame of a person who had testosterone.
Is he also saying
kids? He did
he's
not
saying
have
those kids are not his kids?
They're not his kids.
Right.
They're definitely not his kids.
I mean, this is what we were talking about earlier, about how it's easy to get the facts to fit a theory, you know.
Right, but those kids are not his kids. Those are the whitest kids you're ever going to look at.
Yeah.
They're really white. I mean, they're not part African American. I mean, and we got to remember, before his vitiligo kicked in, he was very dark. You know, he looked like his brothers.
Yeah.
He looked like his father.
Yeah.
I mean, it's I don't know.
I hadn't heard that theory before, that his kids weren't his kids.
Really?
I mean, I haven't heard many theories. I don't think that much about Michael Jackson, so.
I mean, I think that's just been pretty much established. Yeah, that his kids weren't really his kids, and I think the woman that he had children with, I think, was on the record saying they never had sex.
Right.
I think.
Yeah, I think they talk about that as well, yeah.
Yeah.
However, these assertions contradict official autopsy findings from the Los Angeles County Medical Examiner, which confirmed Jackson underwent normal puberty, debunking the castration theory. And Michael's extraordinary range wasn't simply something he left to chance. His longtime vocal coach, Seth Riggs, revealed just how seriously Michael trained his voice. Riggs said that while touring, he would sometimes vocalize with Michael 3 times a day, helping him maintain his technique while performing demanding shows filled with singing and dancing.
I was with Michael for 32 years. He was a very gentle soul. He was a real genius as far as moving his body. was concerned. As far as his voice was concerned, he had a range of 3.5 octaves, and it was all connected. He could use falsetto or not use falsetto. He just was a vastly talented person.
According to Riggs, Michael possessed an enormous connected vocal range and could reach surprisingly low notes as well as extremely high ones. He even practiced vocal exercises while moving and spinning because he wanted to know his voice would remain controlled while doing the same movements on stage. So behind that instantly recognizable voice was something people rarely saw: years of serious vocal training and constant practice.
When we did Thriller, Quincy Jones wanted us to work 2 hours a day, 6 days a week. And I said, Q, that's too much. 2 hours, and then he starts singing. Good Lord, he said, you know how to do it, blah, blah, blah. I said, I hope I know how to do it. So we had to be very, very careful to keep his voice connected from his chest into his head voice and not strain him or push him too hard, because he would stop after 2 hours of vocalizing and go right into singing songs. Michael was very slim, but he was very strong. His muscles were like a coiled spring. And although he was a vegetarian, occasionally he'd have some meat, but mostly he was a vegetarian, he had wonderful, wonderful physique for dancing.
But perhaps the strongest argument against the idea that Michael Jackson's extraordinary voice had to be artificially created comes from the people who heard him long before the world knew his name. His own family. Tito Jackson recalled that the older brothers originally performed without Michael. At the time, Michael was still the little kid they didn't take seriously as a performer. That changed when the family attended an elementary school program, and Michael stepped onto the stage to sing "Climb Every Mountain." According to Tito, they were stunned. They had no idea their younger brother could sing like that. His performance impressed them so much that they rushed him home and immediately brought him into the group that would eventually become the Jackson 5.
One day, like a year or two later, we hear Michael singing a little thing in kindergarten, singing "Climb Every Mountain" in the school performance. And he tore it up, man. We couldn't believe, our mouths flew open, couldn't believe that was our brother up there singing. We rush him home, tell him he's in the group. Mom said, "Me too?" Say, "Yeah, you too, come on." So that's how the Jackson brothers were formed.
And Michael's mother, Catherine, remembered discovering that voice even earlier. She recalled hearing 4-year-old Michael joining his older brothers and immediately realizing that he had the potential to become a lead singer. Years later, she described his childhood performance of "Climb Every Mountain" as remarkably clear and controlled for someone so young. That matters when discussing all the rumors surrounding Michael's adult voice. Claims that Michael was chemically castrated to preserve his singing voice have never been established as fact. What we do have are accounts from people who were there before the fame, before Motown, and before Michael had professional vocal coaches, describing an unusually gifted child who could already sing with remarkable pitch, range, and emotion. Even Motown founder Berry Gordy later remembered the young Michael singing with a level of feeling that seemed far beyond his years.
He was driven by his hunger to learn, to constantly top himself, to be the best. He was the consummate student. He studied the greats and became greater. He raised the bar and then broke the bar. His talent and creativity thrust him and entertainment into another stratosphere. I mean, Michael was awesome, totally in charge. In fact, the more I think and talk about Michael Jackson, I feel the king of pop is not big enough for him. I think he is simply the greatest entertainer that ever lived.
And Michael's incredible vocal ability wasn't only praised by his family or the coaches who had trained him for years. Artists who actually entered the studio with him also discovered just how impressive his voice could be up close. And Akon was one of them. Akon had the opportunity to work directly with Michael during the later years of his career. The two collaborated on music, most famously, Hold My Hand, and the experience gave Akon a rare chance to see how Michael approached recording when there wasn't a massive audience watching him. According to Akon, Michael was incredibly serious about getting his vocals right. He wasn't someone who simply walked into the studio, sang a song once, and considered the job finished. Michael would continue working on different takes, harmonies, melodies, and his signature ad-libs until the performance sounded exactly the way he wanted, and that perfectionism immediately stood out to Akon.
Hold My Hand actually came about around the time when I was doing the Wanna Be Starting Something for the re-release for his Thriller album. And we was sitting down talking about concepts for his new album itself, and you know, the image and everything, and how he wanted to pretty much, you know, reappear to the audience. And at that moment, that's when I was like, yo, I think I may have the record for you. He said, you kidding me? I said, no, listen, I recorded this record a couple months ago, and this might be perfect. You might want to check it out. And I played him Hold My Hand. And he heard it, and off top, he knew it. He's like, oh, this is it, this is amazing. We got to get in the studio and do this record. And ultimately, that's what ended up happening, you know. He finished all the vocals, added some incredible ad-libs and everything to it. And we just made it more of a MJ record, and I just kept myself on it for the legacy and the history of it, you know.
People often focus on how high or deep his speaking voice could become, but those conversations can overlook something far more important. Michael had spent his entire life virtually learning how to control his instrument. He had been singing professionally since childhood, later trained extensively with vocal coaches, and continued refining his technique even after becoming one of the biggest artists in the world. Akon got to witness the result of all those years firsthand. He wasn't judging Michael or trying to determine whether his speaking voice sounded unusually high. He was standing in the studio with him, watching Michael actually work.
The song was already done and complete, and then he came and re-recorded the lyrics on it, but with the MJ touch. You know, it was, and I would believe me, that was a big touch. Once he laid it, it was out of here, you know?
Make sure to check out our other videos on the screen.